Good day everyone, and welcome back to another Atterbury Motors vehicle review. Today I am joined by this beautiful 2015 Land Rover Range Rover Sport. This is the 4.4 litre SDV8 and it's in HSE Dynamic trim. It looks absolutely beautiful, don't you agree? Just to take you on a quick trip around the vehicle, there's a lot of features that this particular model has outside that I'll quickly try and name as many as possible and then get into the specifics of this model. So this one's finished in a nice ice white, has a lot of black accent features that are all matte black, such as the badging, the grille, the vents on the hood and the sides, and those 22-inch rims. They contrast pretty well with those nice red Brembo brakes. This particular model has parking sensors all round. It has 360-degree cameras, which 2 of them in the front bumper, underneath the mirrors and at the back. Then this one is currently raised. As you can see, it is currently at its highest setting as it has adaptive air suspension. So here in the front of the Range Rover, you're greeted by plush and luscious leathers, materials, top quality plastics and metals, and this little textured pattern here on the center console. It's all well screwed together. It's premium luxury, but that's to be expected from a Range Rover. I mean, you don't pay for such a vehicle or buy this type of vehicle and expect low quality. You know, I like the contrast inside this particular model. I like that it has some black leather at the top and then this nice light cream leather running straight through the vehicle on the top of the doors, as well as here on the dash, surrounding this nice infotainment. It really livens up the cabin. It looks beautiful. Like I said, premium. Before I get into the infotainment and the displays and the other optional extras that this particular model has, I'm just going to get into the practicality. So first off, the door bins. They are quite massive on the driver and passenger side. The rear ones are a bit smaller, but the biggest issue I have with them is the door handle is integrated right at the top of the door bins, and this in particular does make it hard to get things in and out of your door bins, especially because your seat is so raised up. So the level of your seat is equal to the top of the door bin. So getting things in between the seat and the door bin, it just makes everything a bit more difficult. You don't always want to open your door and hear that ding just when you're going to get your water bottle. You're also not going to do that while driving. The cubby space under the armrest is also quite generous. When you open it, you're greeted by a nice little Land Rover remote, which is for the infotainment at the back. I'll get to that in a moment. There is this center separation thing for your mobile phone and other things to rest on top of. But underneath it, for some people, they'll be happy to know there's a fridge in the center armrest, which is nice for long journeys. But in my personal opinion, I don't really like a fridge, because if you want to store anything in there, like a mobile phone or anything, I don't know, it just feels weird putting it inside a fridge. But that's just my personal opinion. I know everyone else will differ. Also inside the cubby is your aux port, your USB port, and another charging port, which is hidden by this beautiful little cap. See, it's the small details. I mean, they could have just put in something plastic. Then I'm going to close that up. Then there are some cup holders. They are nice and hidden. They have this nice little rubber lining to help keep your drinks in place. They are removable, so if you spill something, you can wash them. There's also a nice little slot for an espresso, another charging port, and if you don't want anything there, or you might put your phone there and want to keep it hidden, then you can just slide it closed and it's out of the way. Underneath the air conditioning controls, there's this little slot which you can take your little iPhone and just slot it in there, and it's a nice place to rest. It has a nice rubber lining so your phone won't slide around, and also it keeps it a bit hidden. Further onto the center here is this nice little control panel which houses your gear selector, your off-road mode, your air suspension buttons, your parking brake, and it's all nicely integrated into this nice little rectangular shape. This gear selector is very beautiful. It's covered in nice leather. It has some LEDs to show you where you're at. The park button is also placed nicely inside of it. Then you have your off-road modes. If you press this beautiful button in the center, it will rise out of the center console. The lift up, it will give you some access to your sport modes, your off-road modes, snow modes, your sandy mode. You have some hill descent buttons, you have your traction control, you have your air suspension, raising and lowering of it. You can also lock it in place. Then you have your parking brake, which I'll be honest with you, it's a nice big parking brake and it's well incorporated into this entire design. I really do like it. It suits the vehicle well. The air conditioning unit is also quite beautiful. I do like that there's not a lot of buttons. The layout is very decent. I do also like the digital displays within the swivel knobs. It just looks so much more premium. It's very clear. I just like it. Before I move on to the infotainment, I just want to say a little something about this key. It is very beautiful, loads of gloss black. It also has a bit of a rubbery side at the front. You can open your trunk from here, switch on your home lights, turn on the alarm, everything. It also houses the spare key within it. It's very beautiful and it just matches your interior, and it actually fits right there by the parking brake. How convenient. The glove box is just as large. It opens with this nice little touch button here at the top, and then it softly lowers down. Inside it does have a felt lining so things don't rattle about. It also houses the manual and these beautiful Land Rover earphones, which have never been used. They have the original stickers, they're in the original little velvet bags. They are nice, and therefore the infotainment at the back. Doubt you're going to use them while driving. So onto the infotainment system. The screen is a decent big size. It's not as big as the latest Land Rover technology, but it is very intuitive to use. It is nice and clear. I do like the sat nav. It does take you where you need to go. There's these nice little shortcut buttons on the side which are easy to read as they are illuminated, as well as the icons are rather big, so it's easy to get used to. On all Range Rover Sports, you get this nice digital dial display behind the steering wheel. It's also very intuitive, very quick to respond. Everything is crisp and clear. All detail is given through, and it just looks so much nicer. It does elevate the luxurious feel inside this cabin. So this particular model does have the Meridian sound system. It is so nice. Trust me, you have to experience this for yourself. There are so many speakers in this vehicle. I don't even want to hazard a guess at how many, but I think there's already 4 in this door alone. There's 3 at the top of the dash. There's loads more at the back. I think the rear doors also have 4 per door. Don't get me started on it. It just sounds so nice. And when you turn the volume up, it feels like the floor is starting to vibrate as if there's bass speakers in the floors. But I doubt that. I just think it's just brilliant. They could not have made it better. So it's a nice optional extra to have in this particular vehicle. The steering wheel is nice to touch. I do like it. It's nice and chunky. I like all these nice little silver accent features. The buttons are big and chunky, logically laid out, easy to control when you're wearing thick gloves in winter. I do like that it's also electrically operated, as well as the seats. It's easy to find a correct driving position, get comfortable. Whichever position you go for, you are seated quite high, so that is something to note. But we all know we do like to look down at the people that are not as good as us, especially in vehicles like these. It's just a feeling. And yeah, I think that's everything covered in the front. Let's move to the back. Now, getting into the back, there's loads to talk about. Now, this is kind of like a luxury limousine for the rear passengers as well, and the quality continues straight through. Usually in the back of vehicles, they do tend to skim on a few things, but back here, everything remains the same. It's a really nice place to be. Let's start off with the practicality back here. The seats are adjustable, which is nice for longer journeys. The door bins, like I mentioned, are on the smaller side, and because the seats are a bit raised, it's difficult to get things in and out of the door bins, especially because of where the handle is located. Also some nice speakers with the Meridian branding at the back. This nice panoramic sunroof really does liven up the cabin. It makes it so much nicer in here. And yeah, it's just a nice place to be. This is the center seat that lowers into an armrest. It has some nice cup holders and this little center cubby. Can't put much in there, but it is there if you need it. Then if we lift it up, it folds into a nice seat. There's plenty of space for 3 people abreast for longer journeys. People will be comfortable. One thing I do like about the rear, the floor is completely flat, which means people in the middle can be seated comfortably for long journeys. It is a full-size seat, so you won't be uncomfortable. Also in the back of the headrest are these displays. They can play some movies, they can show you your routes and everything from the satellite navigation, as well as they can show you the things that are on the radio. They are controlled by this remote like mentioned earlier, and it fits perfectly in the slot underneath the air conditioning. Yes, it also has rear air conditioning and some heated seats for the rear passengers, and that just makes it a lot nicer for me here in the back. Moving on to the very back of this Range Rover, the boot is very large. It's a nice square shape. As you can see, there's no lip to lift things over. The rear of the vehicle automatically lowers on the air suspension to assist you with getting items into the boot. There are loads of tethering hooks dotted around the place, a nice 12-volt socket if you need it. The seats can be folded down. I won't say without a hassle, because you need to walk to the side of the vehicle, open the rear doors, and then pull the lever to lower the seats. This is a bit more difficult because there aren't nice levers in the boot to assist with that, but ultimately this is a great space and it's nicely laid out. If you lift the false floor, underneath it you will find a full-size 22-inch matte black spare wheel. This is a nice feature, so that if you have a puncture, you will not ruin the look of your Range Rover. So now that we're on the road, I can tell you that this vehicle handles very well. It has great road presence, has great handling, it's good on-road and off-road, perfectly capable of going 200 kilometers an hour on a motorway, which I do not suggest you do. The air suspension does a nice job of ironing out the bumps, as well as you can get that extra raised ride height when you plan to take this vehicle off-road. And it being a Land Rover, it is very capable off-road. So let's talk a little more about the engine. The specific unit in this Range Rover is a 4.4 litre SDV8. Now that is just a turbocharged V8 diesel engine. It produces 250 kilowatts of power and 740 newton meters of torque. Now that is plenty, and that can help propel this beast from 0 to 100 in 6.9 seconds. The claimed fuel consumption is 8.7 litres per 100 kilometers. Now I don't really think that is possible. It really depends on your driving style, but it is a diesel, so you never know. You could get close to that figure. I wouldn't put my heart on it, but yeah, so don't quote me on that. Land Rover has found a way to blend this entire package together of off-road capability, sportiness, luxury, and everything just works well together. It is a total package. I would definitely recommend this over, let's say, a Q7 or an X5, the GLE as well. So, what is my final verdict of this Range Rover then? Well, it holds its own on the road and has tons of presence. It's easily recognizable in the car park. It has a slight upper hand over some of the competitors for quality, style and overall drive. And then there's the off-road heritage. I would definitely recommend this vehicle over its competitors. It does get decent mileage, it has a spotless exterior and interior, and it will be a great long-term buy for most people. But to be honest, it is going to be a bit of an investment. But this is a great piece of machinery.